The snow was falling gently outside the vast glass windows of a mansion that seemed too large for one man. Inside, the fireplace crackled softly, reflecting in the lonely eyes of Ethan Cross, a man whose name adorned buildings, companies, and magazine covers, but whose life had been reduced to silence. Every Christmas for the past 7 years, Ethan sat in that same armchair, staring at the same empty chair across from him, waiting for something he couldn't quite define. Once, that chair belonged to his wife, Claire, and beside it, a small rocking horse waited for a child who never came home. It was the accident that changed everything. One icy December night, a car crash that took both his wife and unborn son. Since then, Christmas wasn't a holiday for Ethan, it was a haunting reminder. If you believe kindness and second chances can heal even the deepest wounds, then take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal, because this story will touch a place in your heart that you may have forgotten existed. Every year, his staff would decorate the mansion. Lights wrapped around the columns, a grand Christmas tree stood tall in the corner, and expensive gifts sat untouched beneath it. But no laughter, no warmth, no family filled the house. Ethan didn't even know why he kept doing it. Maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was hope that one day, somehow, the silence would break. That morning, Christmas Eve, Ethan signed off on a donation, a tradition he'd started years ago. His assistant had arranged to deliver food and gifts to families in need, but he never met them. He didn't want to face the reminder of joy he could no longer feel. That night, as the snow thickened and the town grew quiet, a faint knock echoed through his mansion. Ethan froze. Nobody ever came here without notice. The guards were off for the holiday, and he hadn't expected anyone. The knock came again, gentle, persistent, and almost desperate. He walked to the door and pulled it open, half expecting to see a deliveryman or a neighbor. Instead, standing on the porch was a young woman holding a small girl in her arms. The woman's coat was soaked through, her hair clung to her face, and her lips trembled from the cold. The little girl, maybe 6 or 7, held a small box wrapped in crumpled red paper. "Mr. Cross," the woman stammered, I'm sorry to bother you. The shelter said you sometimes helped families on Christmas Eve. Our car broke down nearby, and the lights were off everywhere else. I didn't know where else to go." Ethan hesitated. Something in her voice, a mix of exhaustion and humility, made him step aside. "Come in before you freeze." The warmth of the house seemed to wrap around them as they entered, the little girl's eyes widening at the sight of the grand staircase and glowing tree. "I'm Ethan," he said quietly. "You are. I'm Hannah Miles, and this is my daughter Sophie," she said, placing the small box on the counter. "We didn't come to ask for anything, I promise. We actually brought something for you." Ethan frowned. "For me?" Sophie stepped forward shyly, holding the box out to him. "Mom says we should always say thank you when someone helps us. You helped us last Christmas. The shelter told us that the food and toys came from you." Her voice was soft but steady, her eyes bright despite the weariness on her face. "So this year we wanted to give something back." Ethan carefully opened the box. Inside was a small handmade ornament, a wooden heart painted red, with the words, "You are not alone," written in a child's careful handwriting. For a moment the air left his lungs. He couldn't speak. That simple phrase pierced through 7 years of silence. Hannah shifted awkwardly. "It's not much. Sophie made it herself. I know it doesn't mean anything compared to what you've given others, but she insisted." Ethan swallowed hard. "It means more than you think." He invited them to sit near the fire while he prepared hot chocolate, a habit he hadn't indulged in since his wife's passing. As they warmed up, Hannah explained that she worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices by day and waitressing by night. Sophie stayed at the shelter after school until her shifts ended. They'd been saving to rent a small apartment by the new year. "We were on our way to visit my sister for Christmas," she said, "but the car gave out a few miles from here." Ethan listened quietly, watching Sophie play with a small ornament from the tree. The laughter that escaped her lips was light, unburdened, a sound that filled the hollow spaces of his heart. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the weight of silence pressing against him. As the clock neared midnight, Ethan offered them the guest room for the night. Hannah hesitated, clearly uncomfortable imposing, but he insisted. "It's too cold to go anywhere tonight," he said softly. "Stay, at least until morning." That night, after they went to sleep, Ethan sat alone by the fire again, but it felt different. The echo of Sophie's laughter lingered in the air, and the wooden heart hung gently from the tree. He found himself smiling, something he hadn't done in years. He didn't realize that outside the snow had stopped, and the stars had broken through the clouds. The next morning, sunlight poured into the house. Sophie was in the kitchen, trying to pour cereal without making a mess, while Hannah apologized profusely for the intrusion. Ethan waved it off, laughing quietly. "You've brought more life to this house than it's had in years," he said. Over breakfast, Sophie looked up suddenly and asked, "Do you always spend Christmas alone, Mr. Ethan?" He hesitated, then nodded. "I used to have a family," he said simply. The girl's innocent eyes softened. "Then maybe we can be your Christmas family this year." The words hit him harder than he expected. He turned away quickly, pretending to reach for his coffee, but his vision blurred. Hannah placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Sophie," she whispered. "Don't, no." Ethan interrupted quietly. "She's right." He smiled faintly. "Maybe this year can be different." They spent the day decorating cookies, singing along to old Christmas songs, and even building a snowman outside. The mansion that once echoed with emptiness now carried laughter through every hallway. For the first time in years, Ethan felt human again, felt warmth that wasn't from the fire, but from the presence of kindness. Later that afternoon, Hannah found him standing by the window, looking at the snow-covered garden. "You've done so much for people, Ethan," she said softly, "but I think you forgot how to let someone do something for you." He looked at her, really looked at her, at the strength in her eyes, the quiet resilience of someone who had faced the world and refused to break. "Maybe you're right," he admitted. "I lost everything once. I thought if I kept helping others, maybe I could fill the emptiness, but I never let anyone back in." Hannah smiled gently. "Maybe it's time to start." As evening approached, Ethan arranged for their car to be towed and repaired. But when the mechanic arrived, he quietly told him to take his time. He didn't want them to leave just yet. That night they had dinner together at the long dining table, once a place of ghosts, now alive with conversation and laughter. Sophie handed him another small gift before bed, a simple drawing of him, her, and her mother standing by a Christmas tree. Above it, in bright crayons, were the words, "Our first Christmas together." Ethan felt something shift deep inside him, a weight lifting, a heart slowly healing. He realized that this wasn't just a coincidence. Maybe, just maybe, it was the universe giving him another chance at the family he'd lost. The next morning, Hannah prepared to leave, but Ethan stopped her. "You don't have to rush," he said softly. "There's an empty guest house on the property. It's been sitting unused for years. You could stay until you get back on your feet. I could use some company around here." Hannah hesitated. "Ethan, I don't want you to feel obligated." He shook his head. "It's not obligation. It's gratitude. You gave me something I didn't know I still needed, a reason to open my heart again." Tears filled her eyes. She nodded silently. That Christmas, for the first time in 7 years, the Cross Mansion wasn't silent. There was music, laughter, and the sound of a little girl running through the halls. Ethan watched from the doorway as Hannah and Sophie decorated cookies in the kitchen. their joy filling every corner of his home. And as he looked up at the small wooden heart on the tree, the one that read "You are not alone," he finally believed it. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Stories like this remind us that even the coldest winters can bring warmth when kindness finds a way in. And before you go, comment below. Everyone deserves a second Christmas chance. Let's fill this world and each other's hearts with kindness again.